Welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast. Happy freaking Monday. I have another spicy one coming for you today. If you're watching the video, you may be like, Emily, you're not in your backyard. Well, that is because the Pacific Northwest is on fire and there has been a lot of smoke. I live in the Willamette Valley, and the smoke from Mount Hood, they evacuated almost all of Mount Hood, like a go now order, and that is about 30 miles from my house. And so the smoke has been horrendous. So we are recording inside because I haven't even really been walking my dogs this week. And with the fires, it got me thinking about the natural law of things and how energy has a way of moving naturally, and it can also be influenced by where we direct our energy, right? Because if you look at the fires right now, what happened in Spokane was a man-made arson fire. Thousands and thousands of people lost their homes, lost their items, lost things that they cherished because of this decision that this man made. True, evil. And then we see natural fires where we know that they start maybe by lightning strike, plus there's a drought, all of these things combined together, and still we see houses are lost, properties lost, but it's this cycle of life or death. Just this big reverence to learn to work with nature instead of manipulating it in a way that's negative, in a way that's harming what we say we actually want. Because if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you have a vision of a more well world. You have a desire for things to be better for all people. And because of that, you have a business, you have an idea, you have a way of living that you want to adhere to, whether that's inside of your family, inside of a business. And you're here because you want to learn how to do that in a more efficient manner. Well, to do that, it is a requirement to step outside of the stories that you have been living with. And the energetics that are coming through right now, I'm reading this in August 2026, so if you're listening to this later, they are spicy and they are going to help you get what you say you want, but only if you adhere to the energetic parameters that allow that to happen, because most of us are not adhering to these natural laws. And we're saying, now, why is it not happening? I feel like I'm doing what I need to do. But there are natural laws that are not being upheld. So this week, we are working with the hunter archetype. If you listen to these podcasts in order, you know last week we were working with the bardo, this liminal space where there's this transition between life and death and all possibilities are open. And now we're working with this hunter archetype. So if you're listening to this during the week of August 9th, 2026, this is going to be the undercurrent that is going to speed things along. And if you are listening to this at a different time, these are the energetics you apply if you are trying to get something in your life, you are trying to make progress forward and really claim what you know your desires are. So let's dive into how to work with the magic of this week and working with the hunter archetype when you're not getting what you say you want. Let's go. So you know that there's patterns that we all have. Maybe you know someone that says they really want something to happen. They want this job, they want this relationship, this income level. They say, oh, I just want my life to look different. I need it to look different than I already have. But then time goes by, months, years, and they're still saying it. They're still wanting it. But the energetic consistency moving towards it is just not happening. You may be like, oh, I feel like that's me, Emily. Or it's like, oh, I know that person, right? Like you're saying you want something different, but nothing is happening in the 3D to make it possible to come into fruition. Well, let's talk about what's happening, because just as much as we are playing with energetics, with magic, we also have to recognize that we are incarnated as a human being, and there are 3D things that have to happen. And when we work with these archetypes, we are able to bridge both of those worlds. So if that is you right now, you are thinking, oh, there's these things that I really want, these desires, I'm trying to manifest these goals, grow these things, but it's not happening, then it is because you are missing a very specific energy, and that is of the hunter. Because the hunter archetype is not asking for permission. The hunter archetype moves with precision. She is like saying, yes, this is what I want. This is where I am going. And the reason most of us are not getting what we're saying, yes, this is what I want, this is what I'm desiring, is because part of our energy is still focused on other options, on an exit that may be there, on our connection, our cord to safety. So we're saying that, oh, I'm really committed to this. But we are also checking if there's a backup plan. We start to look at every direction that something could go wrong instead of focusing in on the one direction that we're actually trying to go. But when we embrace this hunter archetype, we recognize that the hunter does not operate that way, because failure is not an option for the hunter, because there quite literally is not room for it, because that becomes an energetic leak that distracts from the movements of what they are going after. It distracts from the conversation that is happening with source when we're looking over our shoulder and say, oh, but maybe I want that thing. It's like, okay, that scattered energy is keeping you from making the progress that you want. And so I want to give you 3 questions to sit with before you move on to your hunt this week, before you decide, yes, this is what I'm going after. So the first question that you want to ask yourself is, what are you actually hunting? I want you to be as hyper specific as possible. I want you to write it down and then look and say, is there any vagueness in it? Keep writing until you get hyper specific on what you want. So what are you actually hunting? The second thing you need to ask yourself is, why are you hunting it? There is a exercise to do that I've used this with myself, with my clients, and asking yourself 5 times, yeah, but why? Okay, but why, right? And continue to ask that at least 5 times to get to the real bottom of why you are hunting this. And if you recognize this core need to feel validated, it's this desire to feel safe, then that's what I want you to pop back into the Soul Code Extraction Workshop. Look at how you are operating by safety, security, all of these things that we have as a human form, and then see, okay, what different orientation point can I put it through when I know my soul code? Once you energetically shift that, you alchemize the human need and then shift it through your soul code, using it as an orientation point to filter your decision, you're going to be able to get a lot more clarity, and the energy is a lot more clean. It's not as heavy, it's not as dense. Okay. So if you haven't gotten the Soul Code Extraction Workshop, I'll drop it in the show notes. It's like $37, and it is in depth and helps you make crystal clear decisions from your soul code instead of like this security that even people that are successful are starting to do. And that is a freaking energetic leak. Patch it. Okay. So what are you hunting? Why are you hunting it? And then the third one is the weapon that you're using to hunt. Is it actually the right tool for the job? Because a lot of people are using a specific strategy, a specific approach, a specific idea, parameter, structure that was never meant to hold the hunt that you have in front of you. So I want you to check the grip that you're holding onto that system, that idea, that process. And can you loosen it up? When you loosen it up, can you see, is this actually conducive for what I'm doing? Right? If you're going out to hunt a bear, it's going to be very different than if you're going out to hunt a squirrel. Right? And if you're like, Emily, I'm not hunting. Okay, play with me in the imagery here. Okay? That is the point. Is what you're doing the actual tool that you need to do this job? So another reference point to use with this energy, and she came through for me today, Vig, is Artemis. I also have a deep connection to Artemis because my golden retriever, Esme, her mom's name was Artemis. And this beautiful golden retriever, just a sweet angel girl. And Artemis is the goddess of the hunt and the wilderness. Oh, I love Artemis. Few things about Artemis to take into consideration. One, she hunts alone. Okay. And using this model of solitude is going to be a through line for you as you continue to make progress, as you continue to get clear on what you're hunting, because Artemis isn't drawing a crowd around her to be like, oh, look at all these things I can kill, I can hunt, that I can have. Because she commits to solitude so that she can get clear, so that she can have the clarity to allow her to move through the hunt with precision. And in this day and age, with social media, with everyone telling you all these things you should do, we talk so much about this epidemic of loneliness, but that loneliness, right, is oftentimes because we're approaching it with this need to be fulfilled instead of like, oh, I can use my solitude time alone to get clear on my soul. When you're able to sit in solitude, you can get things done. And not like solitude, oh, I just need to avoid something, I need to avoid that person. But solitude becomes a container that allows you to like be really precise on what you're aiming at. And so if you have felt unsure, unstable in what you're aiming for, I want you to get quiet. The medicine for this, be in nature, that has been the medicine for all of this month. So if this is persistent too as you continue to have goals. And be clear how much of the time that you spend thinking, are you doing that surrounding yourself with others' opinions? Instead, I want you to go and be alone, sit outside, sit against a tree, sit in the grass. Allow that solitude to sharpen your clarity. Artemis demonstrates that again and again. She hunts alone. Artemis also has really strict boundaries, right? And when I say strict, it's not like she's being mean. That's not the story of her boundaries. But with Artemis, you don't cross lines and be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You have to claim your boundaries and stop letting yourself or others negotiate around them, being pushed on them. Stop letting that happen. You can evoke the power of Artemis, her magic of having these boundaries. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high. The plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside. For me in this last week and sitting in this liminal space, this life or death transition, and when I say life or death, I don't literally mean the mortality of my life, but like things that felt really unstable. And I have found myself being like really frustrated and grouchy. But what has been highlighted is where I'm not upholding my own boundaries. And that is a me thing. Right? So in order to then be crystal clear on what I'm hunting, what I am desiring, I have to also then have the structure to hold it, that divine masculine and feminine. And the structure is boundaries to allow me to know that, hey, I am safe. I'm not putting myself in this wild territory where anything can attack me, because then I couldn't focus in on my hunt. So stop letting the boundaries get trampled on. Notice where you've been getting pissed off at other people, where you felt like you're being pulled in a billion different directions, where you feel like you're not being supported in ways where you're like, oh, that just doesn't feel good. That is where your boundaries are being highlighted, where the instability has been making you grouchy, is showing you where boundaries need to be in place. Boundaries are not other people's responsibilities. They are on you. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Boundaries are not on other people's responsibilities. They are on you. You need people in your life that will respect them, but you have to be clear enough to put them in place first. Boom. Okay. So when we're going on this hunt, we have to recognize that a skilled hunter is going to honor the precision that it takes, because a hunter, you can look at indigenous tribes, you can look at the way communities honor, like if we're really talking about an animal being hunted, they honor the energy exchange here. There's not waste going in it. It's not, oh, we're going to be violent for the sake of being violent. I'm not going to yell or demand or push my energy down and say this must happen for the sake of feeling big, bad, and badass and all that, right? All that in a bag of chips, as my mom would say growing up, right? The skilled hunter respects the cost of what it's going after. And when we leave this energy of respect, of honoring, of noticing that we are not just a caretaker of the earth, but instead we are nature in itself. We are in the flow, not controlling the flow. When that energy goes unchecked, our hunt becomes reckless. We start to take more than what we need. We start to burn things down that didn't need to get burned. We go hard for what we want instead of being skilled, and it gets messy. So here we want to go really clean with our energy. Energy, it is directed, when I see it like psychically, energetically, it's a clear, like bluish, translucent, opalite stream that you're directing, versus when it's like angry, when it's dispersed, it's like very staticky and scattered, and it's not being able to be directed in that right way. But with this hunt, with the energy that we are applying to what we want, we have to stay grounded. Grounding, right? So getting still while also going outward. There's this balance that allows that to happen, because this ambition that we have to get what we want, without grounding underneath it, it turns into this pure momentum without control, without being able to steer it. And so that is how folks end up hunting for years and years. And then when they get it, they're like, well, that feels like shit, right? That doesn't feel like I wanted it to. And so Mother Earth, Pachamama, is the medicine that the hunter needs, because we're able to stay in our body while moving towards what we're desiring. Some really practical steps is looking at what you're eating. Are you eating real food? Are you working with the seasonal food that's available to you? We have our garden right now, and zucchini, cucumbers. We just got all of our peas, and we just planted new herbs. We have some jalapenos, some green peppers. So eat some real food. Look at what is going around you, what is being produced right now. See if you can eat some of that. Not just stick with whole foods. Connect with the energy. I also want you to get outside more before you just spend time scrolling on your phone. I know it's there. It is a great tool. We love it. But that is an energy. We need to ground. So when our feet are touching the ground, this is a two-way relationship. So while you're allowing your stress to be renewed, to be released into the ground, you can also ask, what do you need from me? What can I do for you? Truly connecting. Maybe she just wants some love. She wants you to sit with her, water, some food. Be in communication with the grounding, right? A hunter that's really good is, again, looking back at the indigenous tribes, is working with Mother Nature. That's why it's so critical to do and build our businesses differently. We're seeing the systems and structures fall every single day. There's this deep desire for us to like have something freaking different. My throat chakra is like bursting open right now as I say this, because like, yes, this needs to come out. That's why building your fucking business around the seasonal energetics, working with the will of the year and saying, Mother Nature, how can I build in accordance with what you need, what my soul contract is, and then going beyond the 3D into the 4-5 and beyond D is all in collaboration. But we are on the planet, so we must acknowledge that. Letting your energy be resolved, reciprocate back, keeping your pursuit clear, keeping your pursuit grounded, working with. Now I'm going to give you some really clear things to do with this energy, some clear takeaways. Number one, I want you to write out your goal in a single sentence. If it takes a paragraph, I need you to know it is not clear enough yet. Keep cutting it down until you can get it to one line. And you're like, Emily, that doesn't work. Okay, maybe you have 15 freaking goals. That's okay. But get clear. Number two, I want you to spend some time alone with that sentence before you tell anyone else. Let that solitude bring clarity. See if there's any refinement. Number three, I want you to look at your boundaries. See where you've been letting your boundaries slide. And say, all right, how do I need to reinforce that with myself? What do I need to change with these structures? The fourth thing is I want you to check your tool. See if that strategy, that system, that approach was built for that goal that you have. See if there's resonance with it. Or if you're just used to it and it's something you need to do and you need to continue. 5, get outside every damn day. It can just be for a few minutes. Get outside. Allow yourself to ground. Be in connection with Mother Earth. And then finally, 6, when you hit resistance, because you will, because when you're growing, when you're achieving something, therefore you're expanding your energetic capacity. And when you expand, it feels a little constricted before it can go to the next layer. When you find yourself going, oh my God, what could go wrong? The opportunity here is to shift and say, okay, what is the next step? Instead of what can go wrong? Well, what's the next step? Just one step at a time. Working with the hunter, invoking the Artemis archetype is going to allow you to bridge that gap from what you're saying that you want, what maybe you've been saying for years and decades, and bridging it in, bringing it into the 3D. Finally following up with the consistency and the power, the clarity and the precision, because you are finally going on the hunt instead of just talking about it. That is what the energy is this week. Go freaking get clear. Say what you want, claim it, and take the steps. Thanks for being here. I feel like, I'm on it. I hope you have a great week. If you haven't already, review the podcast wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Give us a like, give us a follow, comment on this. This really helps the podcast get out to other people. Post it on your social media, tag us at Rise to Her, share what you learned. When you're able to provide this feedback, we can refine, we can support, we can grow in the way that's just a super awesome energetic exchange. It's free. And if you're wanting to take these energetic archetypes, these readings, and take them deeper into your business and the structures that you're creating, that is what Rooted is there for. It is a container that takes entrepreneurs and creatives, leaders through the seasonal energetics, through the will of the year, and helping you just stay in the energy of working with magic, working with energetics to continue to grow the business that you say that you want. And giving the structure to do just that. All right. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you here next time on the Rise to Her podcast. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram at Rise to Her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.